simply means that you can write a number as a fraction. Alright, so if you just write it as a over b, you can write it as, so 1/2. 1 over 2 is a rational number. 2 over 1, which is just 2, is a rational number. 0.6, you can write as 6 over 10, so that's a rational number. So it's just a definition. Don't worry too much about it, but most numbers we deal with are rational numbers. Okay? So, and there's a few different types of fractions that we talk about. So we're talking about fractions today. So just write down these definitions and jot down the notes very quickly. A proper fraction is where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Now when I say numerator, what do I mean? Yeah, the number on the top, and the denominator is the number on the top. That's what I mean by the 12. The numerator is the top. So if the numerator is smaller than the denominator, it is a proper fraction. Right? An improper fraction is just the opposite of that, which means the numerator is larger than the denominator. Okay, that's just quite straightforward. So if you have, for example, a proper fraction, you could have 4 over 5, or you might have 10 over 11, or something like that. Improper fraction, you could have 10 over 6, you could have 8 over 4, you could have 100 over 87. All these are improper fractions. Numerator is bigger than denominator. Mixed numerals is where you have a numeral and a proper fraction together. So you have a number with a fraction. So for example, 4 and 5/6, or 1 1/2, or 3 3/4. All of these are mixed numerals. A number and you have a fraction. It has to be a proper fraction together. Then a very important concept is what we call equivalent fractions. So equivalent is where we get the word equal from. Equivalent means they have the same value. But the important thing about equivalent fractions is you have two fractions which have the same value but are written differently. So it could be 1/2 and 3 over 6. It has the same value. 3 is half of 6, 1 is half of 2. But you write it with a different numerator and a different denominator. Okay? And the way that you find an equivalent fraction, the way that you get to an equivalent fraction is by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same number. Okay, so you multiply by 4, whatever number you want, as long as you do it to top and bottom. So for example, 1/3 is equal to 2 over 6. To get it there, I've just multiplied top and bottom by 2. 2 over 6 is the same as 1 over 3. And it's also equal to 10 over 30. I just multiplied the top and bottom by 10 in this case. We get from 1/3 to 10 over 30. So that's what we talk about when we talk about equivalent fractions. Two of them are the same, but written differently. That's an important idea because you can change the denominator and then compare fractions and do various things. Alright, so just a couple of seconds to finish writing that off. As a side note, I did take your advice. The videos are now in a folder with the notes. Okay, and under the notes for the topic is another folder that says videos, and you can see the videos. Yeah, so I send you an email with a link. You click on that, it'll take you to where it is, and then you can see all the different notes that has been happening in class and the videos. Now, let me know if there's any issues. Someone in another class said they couldn't download the videos, so if someone goes on and has a look, if you can't, let me know and I'll see if I can adjust the settings. Okay? Sorry. Is that alright? So I'm just doing a couple of examples. So the first thing is, what happens when you have 4 and 2/3 of an improper fraction? Now before I get into this, I need to say something. Everybody get your fraction, get a calculator out. Get your calculator out. There's the first one I go through with everybody. Hands up if you don't have a calculator. It's in your bag, please grab it quickly. Make sure you get one. $20 from the office if you don't have one. You need to bring it to every class. Yeah, I mean, as long as, I would suggest you get the same model that you use at the school, because in class we go through things to get into the data and statistics of particular functions you need to know about. Now, if you look at your calculator, you can do all sorts of things with fractions. So you see the A, B, C button here? Everyone see what a fraction button is? So if you want to type in a fraction, say 2 over 5, you just press 2, A, B, C, 5, equals, you get a 2 and this funny symbol that looks like an R. It just, they use a different symbol for fractions. Okay? Now if you want to type in a mixed numeral, you type in the numeral and then numerator and then denominator, with each time pressing the A, B, C button. So if you want to put 4 and 2/3, that's going to look like this on your calculator. Okay? 4 R2 R3. So if you try doing that now, 4 ABC 2 ABC 3 equals, so you get 4 and 2/3. You want to get that? Now, if you want to convert between improper and mixed numerals, improper fractions and mixed numerals, you press second function and the fraction key, and you'll be able to go between them. So it's 14 over 3. Did you all get that? So if you want to go between a mixed numeral and an improper fraction, you press second function, the fraction. So if everyone can try that, do as they. If you want to go between a fraction and a decimal, you just press it without pressing second function. Okay? So that's how you use a calculator. And can I suggest that the quick way to do these sort of questions is always to use a calculator. Is to use a calculator, but I'm just going to show you the method. So the first thing is, the first way to do it is, listen carefully. You multiply the denominator with the numeral and add it to the numerator. Alright, so what we get is 4 and 2/3 is equal to the denominator times the numeral, 3 times 4, and you add it to the numerator, over 3. And that is equal to 14 over 3. Right? So you multiply the 2, you add it to the numerator, and you get 14 over 3. If you want to check it with a calculator, do that. Okay, so that's the first one. I think many of you, sorry. That one? Right. Now the other thing, for this one, express 6 over 5 as a mixed numeral. All you need to do here is do 6 divided by 5 on your calculator. So what you're going to get is you're going to get 1.2, and then if you press fraction button, it will convert it to 1 and 1/5. Right. So 1 and 1/5. So the other way you can do it, of course, is by putting in the improper fraction. 6 over 5, you press equals, it changes it automatically in the calculator. You type in the fraction, 6 over 5, press equals, it will give you a mixed numeral. So everyone try that? calculator. 6 over 5 equals, I should change it to 1 and 1/5. Alright, move it down a little bit. The next one. Write two equivalent fractions. So write two equivalent fractions for 4 over 5. 4 feet. So it could be anything. So what it means by equivalent fractions, we talked about this before, you multiply the numerator and the denominator by any value and you'll get an equivalent fraction. Alright, so pick a value you want to multiply. Nick, pick a value. What do you want to multiply top and bottom? Here we go. 5, okay, so let's pick 5. So 4 over 5 equals, we multiply by both by 5 times 5 times 5. And so what's that going to equal? 25. 20 over 25. Okay, what's another number, Nick? Pick another number.
6 over 12.
No, just a new. 6. Okay, so we want to multiply by 6. So 6 over 5, we multiply the top, we multiply the bottom by 6, and we get 24 over 30. So what this is saying is 20 over 25 is the same value as 4 over 5, which is the same value as 24 over 30. Yeah, it's just asking you, what are some equivalent fractions? Now, if you think about it, let's look at the next one. You have 4 over 5 equals something over 25. What goes in the box?
25.
That's right, that's important. So we've got to recognize that multiplied by 5. That's right, you have to multiply the top by 5 as well. Okay? So it's going to be 4 over 5. In this case, what goes in the box?
20.
Good. Thank you, Nick. So you can just work out what you have to multiply by to get to the denominator, or the equivalent denominator, and then you have to multiply the top with the same. Okay. Lock. Number 3. This one, all I'm saying is, you're just finding two equivalent fractions. So I've picked any value. I could have picked 2 or 3 or 7 or 10 or 100. So you're just saying that these, I'm just showing that there's any number of ways of writing 4 over 5. 4 over 5 can be written in lots and lots of ways. Yeah, and this is just 2 ways. If I multiply top and bottom by 5, it looks like this. If I multiply top and bottom by 6, it looks like this. If I happen to multiply top and bottom by 11, it would look a bit different again. But you're just choosing values, that's the thing. Yeah, that's right, just writing it a different way. Yeah. So 4 over 5 is its simplest form, but I can write it in all sorts of ways. Okay, so then now have a look at this one. So I'd like you all to have a think about it. You have something over 6 here. Blank over 6. What value could go in the box for this fraction to have a value between 4 and 5? Alright? So what could go in the numerator here? So then it'd be 4.5 over 6. So what has to be over 6 for the value between 4 and 5? so we're thinking, so for example, if I did 18 over 6, type it into your calculator, what's 18 over 6 equal?
4, 3. 3.
It is 3. Yeah, so that's equal to 3. Is this between 4 and 5? Is that between 4 and 5? No, it's not. It's 3. So what value could we pick?
I don't know.
Well, okay, let's try it. 24 over 6 equals 4. So 24 over 6 is 4, so it's not between. So Matt, what could we pick? Yeah, you could pick 27 is 1. 27 over 6 is equal to 4 and a half.
That's all simple.
Alright, so or you can pick 29 over 6. There's a few values you could pick. We're just showing that. 4 and 6. Okay? So you're just showing that there's a number of values that can go in there that would make it between 4 and 5. Alright? Any questions about it? And just a note here, you don't have to write this down, but when working with fractions, a calculator can help you to convert between different forms, between mixed numerals and important fractions, and also between decimals and fractions. Like we went through, it's good to be familiar with how to go through, how to use a calculator. And this is one last part that I will do, so I'm just coming up with this. Right. Is that alright? What people are alright? Okay, so put a next heading, comparing fractions. Comparing fractions. And to compare fractions, the denominators have to be the same. Right? That's why equivalent fractions are important, because to compare fractions, you have to be able to put it with the same denominator. It has to be out of the same. Right? Otherwise it's impossible to go between. So I come back to this, just go to, alright. Actually, don't write this, just read it. I'll just do a couple of examples and then show you. So just listen carefully, and then you need to write the examples after it's done. To compare fractions, the denominators must be the same. So when comparing, we need to find a common denominator that both can be. And the easiest way to do that is to multiply the two denominators together. Right? And in that way you can work out what fraction to change it into. So in this case you've got 3/5 and 5/6. The easiest way is just look at the example, so I'd like you to just look what I'm doing. So find a common denominator. Right, so one denominator is 5, one denominator is 6. So the common denominator is going to be what?
30.
Yeah, it's going to be 30. 5 times 6. So we're going to do 5 times 6 is our common denominator. It does. 5 over 6. That's right. Exactly. So let's just take it step by step. So 3 over 5 equals something over 30. What do I put in the top here?
18 over 30.
Why do I put 18?
It gives you times it by 6.
That's right. Times it by 6. Times that by 6. So that's going to be 18. And I do the same with 5 over 6. 5 over 6 equals what over 30? 5 over 6 equals what over 30?
25.
25 is 25. Yeah, he times it by 5, which is good. Alright, so it's 25. So now we have 18 over 30 and 25 over 30. Which is bigger? Yeah, so 25 over 30 is bigger. So our conclusion is 5 over 6 is greater than, that's the greater than sign, 3/5. 5 over 6 is greater than 3 thirds. Because we've compared them, we've changed this with equivalent fractions, and now we have a common denominator, and we can see clearly that 25 over 30 is bigger than 18 over 30. Okay. So just writing it down. Now the next example, we've got 4 over 7 and 5 over 8. 4, 7, 5, 8. Nearly, what's the common denominator here? How are we going to find the common denominator? If we follow the pattern of the first one, what do we have to do with the two denominators? What do we have to do with the 7 and the 8?
Multiply.
Yeah, 7 times 8. And 7 times 8 is 56. So that's going to be our common denominator. Alright? 56 is our common denominator. So now we have to think 4 over 7 is equal to something over 56. And then 5 over 8 is equal to something over 56. What goes in that something? Frankie, what goes in the first one? So 7 goes to 56, what has to go in the numerator? Eight sevens are? Yeah, the 8 fours are? 8 fours are 32. Good. Multiplying it by 8. So what about this one? Multiplying by 7. We're multiplying by 7, and so it's 35. So which one's bigger? 5 over 8 is bigger. Because 35 over 56 is bigger than 32 over 56. Alright, so 5/8 is greater than 4 over 7. Okay? So the final one is, instead of having just 2, we can also expand this method to have 3 fractions together. So if we have 3 fractions, then we can just multiply. We find the common denominator. By multiplying all the denominators together. So our common denominator is going to be, Frankie, what is it going to be? Our common denominator here is going to be what? If we have to multiply all 3 denominators together. Yeah? That's right. 3 times 4 times 6. 72. So close enough. Not too worried. Okay, so it's 72. So the last thing to do is to say, well, 2/3 equals something over 72. 3/4 equals something over 72. And 5 over 6 equals something over 72. We have to work out what goes in these numerators. Matt, what do you think goes in this one here? How do we get from 3 to 72? Okay, 4 times 6. So, times by 24. And so we times it by 24. Good, 48. What about this one? Yeah, 18. So it's 3 times 8, right?
Yeah.
So we've got, what do we have here? Times by 6.
3 times 11.
So it's going to be times 18, which is
3 times 8, right?
54. And then this one, we times both sides, top and bottom, by 12. So we end up with 60. Which is the biggest of the three? Yeah, so it's actually in ascending order already. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. All right, so that's about comparing fractions, equivalent fractions, converting between different forms of fractions. So I spoke a bit long. And so I would like you to, I'll keep it there. Just move up this. So these are the exercises. Yeah, I'll write it up here. So question 105. I'll just write it up here and then